Welcome to the Transatlantic Playbook. Today, I have the pleasure and good fortune to bring on my friend and director, Bobby Yan. Bobby, welcome to the Transatlantic Playbook. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Francesca and Sharon. You guys are always A1 in my book. You know that.
Excellent. That's what we like to hear. We also have joining us, head of filmmaking at Crystal Ship Artists, Ms. Sharon Parker-Fraser. Today, we are going to spotlight the actors. So even though Bobby wears a lot of hats, we're going to ask him to put on his, when he works with actors, directors hat. So Bobby, please jump in. We're happy to have you and tell us a little bit about your background. What got you into directing and working with actors, how that came about? How did that all
Sure.
come to the fore?
Sure. Well, I'm born and raised here in New York City. I mean, we're in New York now. I'm assuming you're in New York, but I'm in New York right now. So I was born and raised here in Washington Heights. I was quite influenced by all the culture of the city. Eventually, I moved to Hollis, Queens, which is also very cultural. So I think my upbringing as a child who was always artistic brought me to become a filmmaker, because in my life, my two loves was writing and singing. I used to sing as a child. So that brought me to filmmaking, which first initially brought me into music videos, again, which is an extension of the artist that I was, the storyteller, but also the visual artist and also the musicality, because I thought music videos encompassed my love of so many different things. So I did that for really a long time, probably 15 years, directing music videos. I did over 100 projects and commercials, and then I moved over to narratives with some shorts. So the goal, again, as a filmmaker, my goal is to tell stories that evoke culture, history, like the griots tell stories from different cultures that are not often told, to go against the thematic history of the white male hero, right? I think that's what we're all brought upon throughout the beginning of
Yes.
film. So for me, one of my roles, my goals as a filmmaker is to add to the tapestry of other stories that have been influenced. So obviously, my influences as a director have been like the ones from New York, Spike Lee, Matty Rich. They influenced me as a native New Yorker to see young non-white people doing their own storytelling, and even like Julie Dash and people like that. They all played a huge influence on why I am who I am and first as an Asian American that is definitely unique in the sense of I was brought up in New York culture, hip hop culture, and I understand, again, the tapestries of our interrelationships with each other. And I respect the cultures that bind us together, the stories that bind us together. So that's really important to the DNA of who I am right now as a filmmaker, as a writer, as a producer. I wear many, many hats as well. I have been an editor by trade for many, many years. I have 8 Emmys as a producer and editor for MLB Network. I am a visual effects artist as well. I have a degree from Tulane University in New Orleans. So New Orleans is also a very special place to me. And also NYU. I have a graduate degree in special effects from NYU. So all of that combines into who I am today. And I've been really blessed to have, over the last 4 years, directed 6 television movies, 9 episodes of television. But the story is just beginning for me, right? For me, it's from this point on that my ideas, my stories are being created, are being told, and I'm working with other creatives that I really care, respect for, to build more stories and to control the stories that we tell, to this world, because what we put out into this world, truly in my heart, is why I'm a filmmaker, is I know the power of filmmaking, I know the power of storytelling and how it could affect our spirit, the human spirit, and how it could bind and unite and heal and fix things in this world. So I think my heart has always been about service. So even as a filmmaker, it's also about service. Even in entertainment, even if I'm doing something fun, ultimately there's a stronger intention behind that into everything I do. So
Wow.
how I work with actors. So when I started in music videos, it's interesting because music artists, they're not like actors, but at the same time, they're performers. There is a connective tissue that binds the music artist to the actor on stage, to the actor in theater. There is a very strong interrelationship, because once that camera rolls, you are portraying somebody. The person that's singing or rapping or doing whatever, they are portraying that whatever they're portraying musically on the screen. And my job is to pull that out of them. So I think my roots in that help me now working with actors because I'm always emotionally, spiritually, humanistically attached to all the actors and the characters they're building because it was my training ground working with music, which is emotional. So how I directed music videos was through emotion. Whatever the emotions of the song hit my heart is what I try to put on screen and bring to life. So conversely, when you do a movie or a television show, it's kind of similar. You are looking for the tone or the emotion or the overall arc of that script or story or episode, whatever that is. You as a director have to work with the actors to bring that to life. And it is a collaborative journey. Every job that I do is such a, it's literally like a mini adventure, as I like to call it, because once we start a job, me and the actors, we're connected. We're connected by our hearts, by our minds, by our intellect, by our morals. Like all of us are connected in some ways by our backstories and our real lives. We bring that to the characters that we put on screen, and it is a journey together. That's kind of how I think about it. We are building the journey together. That's how I work with actors.
Well, I mean, I don't even know where to start. I'm like, there's
Mhm.
so much to unpack there. That's fantastic. I want to start at the beginning of that journey that you just mentioned when you're working with actors. So, when you first start working with a casting director and you say to the casting director, these are the breakdowns, this is what I want, this is I want, how I want it to go. And then the casting director puts out the breakdown, and then the self tapes start coming in. Maybe the live auditions start happening. But what is it that captures you to the actor that makes you say, stop, I want to see more of this person when you start going through? Because we're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of submissions that the casting director themselves have to whittle down. So, first of
Yeah.
all, what are some of the instructions that you give to the casting director to say, this is what I want? And then what makes you start picking out certain people?
So there's two sides of the coin, right? As a director, you can be a director for hire, right? Like I've been a director for hire, which means I didn't write the script. Or you could be a director writer. There's two sides of the coin. You can be a director writer as well. Either way, each person that reads the script has an interpretation of what that character sounds like or acts like in their head. You already have a preconceived notion of what you kind of, when you're reading the script, you're imagining things. You're imagining, you just have paper. You're just so you're imagining, you're bringing to life that character inside your head. You don't know what they look like, right? And sometimes it's colorblind casting. You never know. So they could be open or it could be very specific. So I think there's always an internal voice for everybody, and that's subjective. That's totally biased. So my viewpoint of a character could be totally different than a casting director's, or in this case, a studio exec's interpretation of what that character is. We could have two different versions of what we think the character is. The
Mm,
writer could have a totally different interpretation of what he or she thinks the character is, or I think the character is. So that's number one. I think it's important maybe for actors, they kind of have to be like seers. They have to peer into the mindset of like people and figure out what are they looking for, right? Unless you're famous. If you're Denzel or Meryl Streep or Angela Bassett, they already know they're coming to you with that character in mind. They've written that for you or they've already thought of it for you. That happens a lot too, right?
mm,
But if you're just an unknown actor and you're trying to kill an audition, then you kind of have to be a seer to think about what do I think they're looking for. Now, first of all, it's hard because you're not getting the whole script. You're just getting a side. You're getting a piece of that script, a tiny little scene. So again, it's such an interpretive scheme because I can totally put my head in the space of an actor that's doing a read, a blind read for the first time. I'm totally in your head. I can be in that actor's head. I'm very empathetic, right? So it's kind of a guessing game sometimes, but what I think, and this is what I tell the actors, trust your gut instincts. Use your life story, your experience. The more experience you have, and even the more no's you have, the more times you've been rejected, will inform you of what to do next time. Because if you have been rejected from a project because you didn't win the audition, then look at that audition again. And maybe when you see the actual finished product, see, what did I learn from this? What could I have done differently to get closer to be chosen? Because there's a few things that I'm looking for when I look at an audition on the tape, right? Obviously, what I just said is, does the person's delivery encompass kind of what I was already thinking, right? Do they deliver it the way I think they do? But that's biased because, on the other hand, they could do something completely different that blows me away that I didn't expect. There's always that possibility, and that's always exciting when an actor or actress comes in with something that's like, wow, like I didn't know this could be this way. Like, you just made me reinterpret the whole idea, and that's great. If you could do that, that's great. But in order for an actor or actress to do that, they have to be really grounded in their own confidence and spirit of who they are to be able to do that. You have to have the confidence and the gravitas to believe that I am this character. So that's another side, right? So the other end, on a very, very base level, and this will especially apply to one-liners. There's a lot of times actors go for co-starring roles, right? The guest star role, which is a 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines max, right? And they're going to give you this little paragraph or maybe 1 page, 2 page, and you only have 2 or 3 lines or 1 word, right? That's hard. Why is that? That seems so easy, but no, it's not. It's not, because you just have to be so natural to win that role. You just have to be, and you would be surprised the amount of auditions I've seen where actors just sound like they're reading the script. That's the biggest no-no from me to a casting director to a studio exec. We notice that right away. Everybody can notice it, right? So the one thing you don't want to do is sound like you're reading the script. Now, if
That's
you
what
give
they
me
ask, right? That's what they say. They say you don't have to memorize it. You don't have to memorize the script, but then they want you to lift something from the page. They want the actor to make
but if
it
it
their own.
but if it sounds like they're, let me make this clear. If it sounds like they're reading, like they're not living. Now, you have to know your lines. Yes, you have to get the lines right. But if you sound like you're reading off a page, do you get what I'm saying? Then it
Yeah.
sounds like you're just, it doesn't sound like you're a professional actor. And I'm gonna tell you, like 8 times out of 10, most of the auditions I've seen, they sound like they're reading. And that's easy to just cross off the list, right? And usually a casting director, before even a director, even before I get to see any auditions as a director, the casting director has already sifted through all of those. They sift through that first. Then the casting director will then choose his or her favorites and then send that over to the director. Right?
So, Bobby, let me ask you, how much influence does the director actually, how much do they have over the casting process?
Okay.
Because how do you collaborate with the casting director, the producers, the execs, the decision makers as a director to make sure that, say, that person that you saw, you want him, her, I
Yes.
want that person.
So that depends. There's categories here. Okay. So let's talk about a television studio backed movie, right? Netflix, Lifetime, Tubi, right? Those are studio backed movies designed for streaming television. Then you have episodes, television episodes. Those are one category that are kind of similar. In those situations, the director doesn't have full control over actor choices. They do not. They are at the whim of the showrunner or the studio exec. Not even the casting director has control. The studio exec in charge, which is basically the same as a showrunner on a television show, has full control and say over who gets the role, right? Not the director. Can the director influence? Yes. In that case, the director, like myself, we can influence the choice of an actor getting the role. How do we do that? We can flag you, or agents, right? Like you as an agent, you can flag your actor with a director and say, hey, I really want you to check out my actor. Can you do that for me?
Absolutely,
And then we could,
absolutely.
and then what we do is that actor automatically gets sent to the studio as well as myself. So the casting director has to send that over. So that's a way of getting through the system without going through the casting, getting cut off, right? Now, hopefully you're good enough that the casting director will just choose you anyway. But again, it's so subjective. You don't know what that casting director is thinking. That casting director might see a really good person, but it's not in his or her thinking that this is their person, and they'll just X them out. That's possible. It happens all the time. So on an independent movie where it's a director, writer driven project, yes, the director has full control. If I was doing my own movie where it's my story, I have full control over casting. But if I'm on a television show or a studio driven project, the director does not have final say. The studio does, or the showrunner.
Got you.
So actors need to understand that. But it is still important for actors to become friends with directors and casting directors, because if you do, you just want to get flagged. We call it getting flagged. At least I call it getting flagged. Once you're flagged, you get sent to the studio. You will be seen. You'll be seen by the studio. And then sometimes, I'll just one more thing.
No, go
It's
ahead.
good to, even if you don't get the role, getting seen by the studio, consider that a win. Because guess what? The more they see you, the more they remember you. And the more one day they're bound to say, you know what, let's just give him or her a chance. It really does work that way. Out of sight, out of mind. You want to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's valuable to be seen, when people are talking about you. What about when the director gets saddled with somebody that they're not really, that wasn't the person that they wanted? We just had that
Happens
with the client. You know,
happens all the time. All
they
the
get
time.
saddled. How does that dynamic affect you and the relationship that you have with that particular person?
It doesn't affect my relationship with the person. It just means that I have to work with them. We start the
It's a
journey together now.
professional, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, there is cases sometimes where I'm so surprised at how good the actor was that the studio chose, and that's a plus. I'm like, oh my God, you're better than I expected. That's the win. When that happens, I'm just like in glory time. Like, yeah, I won. Then there's times where the actor is clearly just not experienced, not experienced. That happens a lot too, especially for the smaller roles, because that person's a friend of a studio. That happens a lot. And then that becomes, now we have to go into, I become an acting coach as well as a director to teach them and pull the best out of them. And it's something that directors just have to do, especially again, in this world of streaming and studio. You have to do that, because if you are a director for hire, you work for the studio. You're not working for yourself. If you're independent, yeah, you can flip things around. You could change the actors. You can just say, no, I don't want you. But in the world of streaming and television and studio, no, the director has to work with whoever they choose. And you have to make the best of it. And you just have to just make it work, right?
As a
Work with them.
professional, yeah. And
You
then
have to,
and if it doesn't work, who gets the blame?
you know, it's who knows. But for me, I take responsibility. If I can't pull the best out of my actor, you know, I'm gonna be a little bit upset at myself, because I think I can pull a lot out of people, and I try my best. It's because I'm very patient when it comes to actors. Yes, I can get frustrated like everybody else, but usually when we're running out of time, those
Yeah.
type of situations when you're under the gun. But in general, I'm very patient. I try my best to just again connect with a human on a very soul level about the story. Like, you want them to understand this is your role and how to live in that role, you know? So,
Well, close to that would be the environment that you create as the director. Obviously, you're in
mhm.
charge of that set. So you're creating this environment for them to kind of like bring out these emotionally draining or whatever it is that they're trying to get out of that. So how do you go about creating this environment to make them feel safe, that they can actually, kind of like give their all?
Well, it starts, number one is it's leadership. A good director, or a director that knows their craft, happens to be a good leader. They can lead the whole team, including the actors, to make them feel heard, to make them feel important. No one's too small. Even a background extra is not too small. Everybody's important to a role. So I think it comes from leadership, but it also comes from communication with the actor. And then ultimately it's finding the connection so that the actor understands the bigger picture of what their role is in the story. Even if it's a one-liner, right? There's
Mm.
still a purpose to their character. What did that character do the day before? Where did they just come from? How are they feeling? These are things that you want to put into your actor's mind so they can feel like, okay, I'm here. And again, the leadership of a good director will inform that for them. a good director, I've said this so many times, and this is going to be my quote for life. A good director makes good choices.
Mhm.
Conversely, a good actor also makes good choices. So a good director working with an actor must inform them and find the right place to make them make the right choice, make a good choice as an actor.
Mhm. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot here because, I'm not usually on that. I'm usually when I go on set with my actors and I want to see what's going on and I meet the director and I talk, I usually try and figure out what the temperature is there. And the first person I look at is the director.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
director is the one who, everybody takes their vibe from.
Mm,
Everybody's like
yeah.
waiting for him to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Okay, cut. We're not doing this anymore. I mean,
Hmm.
he is, he's the person that we all look to set the tone. So somebody like you, I mean, 8 Emmys later, there's not much of a set that you don't know what goes on in every little piece. So when that project wraps, it's the end of the project. You have this great relationship with this team, the crew that you've worked with. I mean, the actors. What can actors do to become to be collaborative with you? Like for you to remember them after they've done. Should they approach you, ask you for your information?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How does that?
I can't speak on other directors, right, necessarily. Even though I'm friends with a lot of directors, I'm a super approachable director. Whereas if you want my information, you can have my information. If I've worked with you and we like each other, we're going to be connected. And I was just saying this to a friend of mine a few days ago. Like I am still friends with almost every actor I've worked with on my previous films. I mean, some of them are really big, and I don't talk to them as much. I give them their space. But in general, it's like we're always accessible to each other, right? And I always hope that we get to work with each other again. I hope that they do well. I've been really lucky where almost every actor I work with on these films, they end up booking something really big right after. And you know why? I'm gonna tell you why. I have a theory on this. You can think of me as a good luck charm because I kind of am, but it's not just that. It's theoretical. The energy that we work together creates energy. And it is the energy of succeeding and really creating something good. Those actors hopefully take that to their next audition and inadvertently they always book. They book bigger jobs because the energy that they took, it's like manifesting the intentions that they got and the shift of their aura shifted so much that they just book a job.
The
So I like to think
confidence.
for me, it happens for me like as well, but it hasn't happened for me like that because directors, we get forgotten. I'm just going to say it. Us directors, we do amazing, great movies, some of us. And sometimes we don't get the appreciation. We get lost in the shuffle. And I'm a fight for directors, for all my fellow directors and say, we do our thing. The ones that actually care about our craft. So I try my best to say, even though I say this is from my opinion, but I really try to speak from a person that is talking about the craft of directing. Ideally, what is the craft of directing? So, and it's funny how, and I'm really sensitive about it. I'm really sensitive about the craft of directing. I take it really seriously. And I
Well,
always say, if
yeah,
you want
you're
to
a
be a
professional.
director, learn the craft. It's not just telling an actor what to do. That's not directing. That is not directing. That's just one side of directing. And it's an important side of directing, but there's more to directing than just, well, just tell the actors. Some people just think, oh, just tell the actors what to do. No, no, it's not that. It's so much more than that. And that's what I love about directing. There's so many layers to it, right? And it's a journey. I keep saying the word journey, but it is. Every project is such a journey from beginning to end that is unforgettable at the moment. And then you're sad when you leave a set. You're like, oh, I'm leaving
Oh
my
yeah.
crew. I'm leaving my cast. You feel so
Right.
sad. You're like, you wish you could do it again, right? So
Right
that's the
there.
joy. There's a joy to the world of production. I love being on set. I live to be on set. It's
Mm,
where I'm most passionate, you know. So, and
yeah.
I can relate that
Yeah.
to singing. When I used to sing, I love to sing. Directing's like singing to me. I know it's weird, but it is. I
That's your
correlate it
passion.
all together. It is my
Hmm.
passion. Yeah,
Hmm.
it is my passion.
So let's broaden it out a little bit to the industry. AI's come in. Have you integrated AI into your work? How do you see the next like 18 months shaping your craft, how you do your job? and the interaction that you think that you may have with maybe a different type of actor?
I think AI is unavoidable. It's already here. It's been here for 30 years, maybe more, probably 50 years in its
Mm.
early infancy phases. Because even somebody told me this, even when you do the credit card, those credit cards, put your credit card in the bank, that's AI. It's actually theoretically AI. It's early part of AI, but it's AI. It's automated. It's artificial intelligence, but it's automated. That's the automation is what makes it AI. So AI is just now to the point where it's affecting media. It's affecting to the point where it looks so real that we can create things that look so good on the screen that we could never do before. I personally say that we have to be morally bound by our understanding of how to use AI. It's up to us individually to have limits. Like, for example, I'm never going to do a film completely using AI characters to replace humans. That's a moral boundary that I'm never going to
Yeah.
do. I'm not doing that. I won't do that. I'm never going to replace an actor. What I could do is I could shoot an actor on an LED screen or green screen and create a virtual set to help put it in a set that I couldn't afford. I'm cool with that. There's ways that you can use it where I think that, yeah, and I don't like to take away jobs from the visual effects artists as well. Visual effects artists have to learn how to implement AI into their workflow. We all have to take upon ourselves, if we want to survive as creatives, to learn how to embrace it and put it into our workflow as creatives and then sell ourselves as that person. Because guess what? The person that is a visual effects artist that learns AI is able to show and prove that they can save their company money. You're going to get all the money. And you need to do that. We all need to do that. A director that learns how to use AI to maybe mock some ideas out of an action fight sequence or visual effects sequence just for mock and then use that to actually create the real thing. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. We have leveled the playing field. But those that try to write a script just using AI, okay, don't do that. There's a moral boundary you have to stop. We cannot use AI to write a script from scratch. I don't agree with that personally. Script writing is from the heart. It has to have a human taste. Now, if you did take your outline that's like 30 pages and put it into there and have it help you write a little bit, there's always a fine line. Again, I don't think that's morally right. But if you do a whole draft that you wrote yourself and put it into AI and say, can you help me clean it up or give me some notes? I'm cool with that.
Right,
What's wrong
exactly,
with this?
right.
I'm gonna tell you this. Even places like Black Script and all these places, I'm telling you, they use AI. They're not going to tell you they're using AI. They're using AI
Mm.
for their notes. They're all the executives are using AI. They're all using AI. They'll pretend they're not, but no, they're using AI. I can tell already. We can always tell what's AI and what's not AI, and we
Yeah,
can't
we're
hide from
becoming
it.
savvy.
But again, but the original source, the original information, the core of the information should come from us. That's what I think. We have to be morally very, very abiding by moral values of how we use AI. We have to know where the limits are.
We are talking about a country where our moral boundaries are being
No,
tested,
being tested
Yeah.
you know,
every moment. But guess what?
every moment of
I
every day.
this is a moment in time that will pass.
I
It might take 20 years, but we are shifting as a conscious humanity. We are shifting. We are all shifting, and it starts from us. It starts from us as people that work in this industry to be part of that shift. Our intentions have to be very clear. Our hearts have to be clear. My vision of the future is clear in terms of what I see myself in this industry and the type of stories that I want to put out there. It's very clear. It's been clear since I was a kid. I know my path, and I'm shocked to see the country where it is. I never thought I would see things go back to Jim Crow type days. It's shocking. It's just like,
Mhm.
what are we doing? Like, people are being
Well,
lynched.
the
Like,
regime that
what?
we have is, the leadership,
Of course, yeah.
there's going to be some reflection of the leadership we have, but, just thinking about how it affects us in our industry and the
Hmm.
things that we can do. I mean, I talked to my son the other day and I said to him, look, have you seen this AI created actor that they're going to make a movie with now? I forget what her name is or whatever. And my son's Gen Z. So he said to me, "Oh, mom, that's not going to have a soul." As soon as they know that that person doesn't exist, the story no longer becomes relevant to them. which is kind of weird because he can play all of these video games where none of them
Yeah.
exist,
Yeah.
perfectly fine. But once you say, well, this woman looks really human, like she's not human, she's AI generated, I'm going to make a story around her, all of a sudden they don't want to know. You know what I mean? They're like, no.
Yeah.
No, and that's the juxtaposition of like, okay, well, what will you accept? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
What will you
Yeah.
accept?
yeah. The
Yeah.
moral compass is
Yeah.
being tested. It's
Yes.
really being tested in our society and the entertainment industry. It's about the moral compass. What is your moral compass? Okay.
Correct. Correct. We have to hold to that ourselves
Well,
individually,
that's going
Indiv-
to be
and
hard.
find the right like-minded people to work with. There's a lesson I've had to learn recently. It's discernment, and I've had to learn it on set, offset. We have to have discernment in who we put in our circle, who we choose to work with, who we choose to be loyal to. We must really have discernment because there are people out there that are not on the right side of history. That's how I see it. Are you on the right side of history or the wrong side? And for me personally, and I'll say it to the grave, there is right or wrong. Some people, there's no right. No, there is a right or wrong. I'm sorry, there is,
Do you
and it's not
believe?
based, and it's
I'm
not
sorry, go ahead.
necessarily based on religion, but there is a right or wrong. You either have love or you have hate. You make your choice. I'm gonna choose love
Mm,
most of the time, even though this world makes me want to hate. We're being bombarded by all this stuff that just makes me so angry. I'm like, oh, but we
yeah.
have to choose. There's literally just two emotions: love and hate.
Right.
Remember that Spike Lee movie, Do the Right
Yeah.
Thing, like that? It's
Yeah.
so
Radio
real. That
Raheem.
was that was
Radio
so
Raheem.
symbolic because there is just love and hate. It's literally the two emotions that we have to choose how to flex between, and that's
Right.
that's how I see this
Right.
world. It's like good versus evil, love versus hate. That's how I see it, and all our
Yeah.
stories are based on that. But we're living in a world now where what villains appear to be winning. The villains, and I never thought I would see the world where a villain is running our country. That's a villain. I'm sorry, that's a villain. You can fight me all you
Yeah.
want, but that's a villain.
You
That's
know
not.
what? I identify. I will identify
I
as a
remember.
villain.
Here's a funny story about me. This is just a side note. My dad used to watch wrestling, WWF, whatever. He was the biggest wrestling fan, and of course I would watch as a kid. I was so young. I was like 10 years old. But the first thing I would always ask my dad whenever a match came, I said, Dad, who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? And he would tell
Mhm.
me, he would say, that's the good guy. And guess what? I'm always rooting for the good guy. I was like, okay, thank you, good Dad. And I'm just like, yeah. And I'm watching and I'm just like rooting for the good guy, whoever that was. Right.
Yeah.
So I think about as a child, that was my roots. That's my heart, and I'm still the same
Yeah.
person. I'm just adult now telling stories that still have good versus evil, right? The basis of all truth. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
humankind for you. I mean, we
Yeah.
could go on about this, but like, I want to make sure that we captured everything today. Do you have any closing words to just people who are trying to get into your movies? They're trying for you to choose them as an actor to be in your next project. They're not getting in. What is it that you could say to them to say for the future?
I parallel my life even with an actor as well. I took the long journey to success. I'm just starting my journey right now, in my opinion. I've accomplished so much, but for me, I'm just beginning. My journey is just beginning right now. Somebody could say, oh my God, he has this, he has that, he's done this. Oh, that's great. But I see it as I'm just starting, right? My story is just being told as we speak. And you have to look at yourself like that at all times. You are continually rebuilding yourself at every single moment. So if you were an actor and you've been trying and it didn't work, that was then. Focus on now. What's next for you? And the other parallel is I did the work, the craft, the reason I'm so good as a director. And I will say this, I'm one of the best directors out there. I will fight anybody on that. I really am.
Don't have
I
to
really
fight
am.
me.
I know, and thank you, thank you. But I'm one of the best directors out there for Lifetime, for Tubi. I'm one of the best directors you're going to find. Why? Because
Absolutely.
I'm good at what I do. I know how to tell a story. I strive for excellence, and I'm part of every single moment, getting to end. I care. I care about who I work with, and I care about the projects that I take and elevate. However, that didn't come overnight. That came over years and years and 30 years of just practicing and working. And acting is the same thing. Practice that skill, keep on doing it. Record yourself doing iPhone shorts. Make your own 1 minute short using an iPhone and put it online.
Yep.
Write your own story. You could just put the camera right there, the phone, and record yourself doing an emotional scene, but do it coolly so it looks like it's a real movie. Use AI to place yourself into another world. Use what's available now, and you will be able to benefit from that because people will pay attention. You want people to pay attention. So that's number one for an actor. Keep doing the work. Keep practicing. Keep getting better. Don't say you want to be an actor and just say, I want to be an actor. So many people come to me, I want to be in movies. So what have you done? Are you doing the work? Do the work. I did the work as a director. I've done hundreds at this point, almost 200 projects in my lifetime. That's a lot, right? I've done a lot. Each job, each music video, each movie is an experience to make me better, to make me better. Even if I just did my NYU thesis, which was a little 30-second commercial, that made me better. Even if I just did a spec little thing that I shot on my own, it made me better. Actors, do the work, do your own stuff. Write your own little stories, shoot it. Even if you have no money, do it yourself. You don't need no one to help you. You can do it yourself, especially with AI right now. You can. Secondly, make relationships, meet
Yeah.
other people,
Networking.
network. I met you guys
Right.
at Hip Hop Film Festival, where we were at.
Yeah.
Shouts to CR. It's coming up soon. I we have to network with each other, go out, meet people, build
Yeah.
relationships. And the number and this is the third thing that I hear some people saying, but it's so true. Don't be an asshole on set. Do not be an asshole. If you're an asshole, you're never going to come back. No one's going to hire you. I don't care how good you are. Unless you're Scorsese, you can't be an asshole. I can't be an asshole, and I'm not an asshole, right? I can get a little upset sometimes, but I'm not an asshole. I'm never going to be an asshole.
Right.
I'm a kind human being. There's some assholes out there I've met, straight up assholes. And you know what? Some of them are winning. But guess what? They're not going to win for long because it doesn't
Yeah.
last. It doesn't
Right.
last. It
I
Not
will
at
always
not
tell
all.
my
last.
actors that don't do
No,
it. I have an actor right now. They love him on set. They're like, bring
that's
him back. We want him.
that's
Every
great.
single thing we
And
do.
that's what you need, the actors that people love, right? You want people that people love. That's you want to be to love the people you're working with. And as an actor, you just have to learn to just separate your personal stuff with the profession. Be professional, but try to be
Yes.
kind. Because
Right.
a good actor who understands the craft has empathy. And if you don't have
Mm-hmm.
empathy, good luck. Good luck. Because I'm sure there's those that
Yeah.
don't have it and still made it. But it's not going to last long. You got to learn how to just emote and relate with people. So the
Yeah.
relationship's important. You know,
Right.
I like to meet actors. I love meeting actors. I like to help actors. But the one thing I will be strict about with an actor is do the work. I'm doing the work. You do the work. You must do the work.
Yeah.
You must keep on creating, keep on pushing, keep on auditioning. And the other thing I'll tell them is just don't give up because once you give up, it's done. Somebody told me, in fact, my barber told me this years ago. I'm going to tell you another story. Everything's spiritually bounded in this world. I remember years ago when I was doing music videos, I had one bad experience and I was ready to give up. I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave filmmaking completely. I was so upset. I got backstabbed in the back by somebody. That happens a lot too, by the way. Discernment, learn how to deal with people. And literally, my spirit gave up. I was getting a haircut with my barber. I love my barber. His name is Tiger. Shouts to Tiger. He literally looked at me. He says, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "You're about to give up." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're going to give up, aren't you?" I said, "How do you know that?" He said, "My mom just passed and she gave me visions and I could hear God." And he said, "God's telling you don't give up." He said, "Once you give up, you go to the back of the line. You've been waiting on this line forever. If you give up, you have to go to the
Goodness.
back of the line. Don't go to the
That's
back.
right.
Stay in the
My
front.
goodness.
Stay there." So that literally saved my life because I would have given up. My
That
barber
is
of all people, I don't even know if I ever told him that story that he knows what he did for me, but that affected me so much. Right. So I tell that to the same thing for your actors. Don't give up. Keep
been
pushing,
waiting
but
at
do the
that
work.
line. You're in the front of the line now, and then you gonna make yourself go to the back of the line. I
You don't want to do
totally
that.
hear that.
You don't want to do
I
that.
tell my people, I tell my kids, I tell everyone I know, I'm like, when it's too late. People say to me, I think I've been doing this so long, it's so late for me, it's too late. I said, the only time it's too late is when you're dead. When you're dead, it's too
Yeah.
late.
Yeah, I'm gonna
That's
shout. I'm
it.
gonna shout one more person. My mentor that I love dearly. His name is Michael Schultz. Michael Schultz directed Cooley High, Car
Really
Wash,
high. Car wash.
Crush Crew,
Yes,
The
crush
Last
crew.
Dragon.
Yes.
He directs All American and shows.
Yep.
He's 80 something years old,
Yep.
still working, loving, creating. He just showed
Yes.
me a documentary he did. He is in his prime and he is
Yes.
learning AI and killing it with AI. This man has embraced AI, 80
Yeah.
something years old.
Yes,
That's a
right.
man that's not giving up. He still was working. He
He's still
still wants to
working.
work. And
That's right.
that's who I look on as my inspiration because he is such a spiritual, loving human being. His wife is loving, his family's loving.
Yeah.
That's who
I
I
know his
strive to
son.
be.
I
Yeah,
do know his
Brandon,
family.
shouts to
Yeah, I
Brandon.
know his son. Yeah.
Wonderful people. So yeah, that's who I look upon as my inspiration and the guide. And I'm so blessed to have people like him in my life. Like the master himself has been my personal mentor to help me in my life. So I really appreciate that. So
Excellent.
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 Wow. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. I have learned a lot. Sharon, I know you've learned a lot. We
Yes,
all
I
are
have.
learning from you. I want to bring you back anyway for when we do the filmmaking section for the
yeah,
creators. But
any
this time around, I want to say, please come back again and thank you.
of course. Thank you for being
Yeah.
here. And thank you for being wonderful, wonderful stewards of your clients. Super caring. You're the underdog and you're gonna win. Okay?
We will.
Thank you.
We will. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Congratulations on all your work this
Thank
year.
you. I
And
appreciate it.
much continued success to you.
Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you.